Hello there, fellow Voyagers. My name is Aaron Moss. With me is my wife, Michelle Moss. And this is Voyagers Cast, a Headcast Network 20-episode maxi-series podcast where we look at the greatest time travel show of the early 80s, Voyagers. Joining us on this monthly expedition through time will be several of my podcasting friends and fellow Voyagers. Each month we look at an episode of Voyagers and give you our thoughts. So let's take a look and see where we're landing this time.
Green light, kid. We did it.
And welcome to Voyagers Cast. This is episode 16. I am one of your hosts, Aaron, Brotherhead Moss. And as always, joining me is my beautiful wife, Michelle.
Hello.
And again, this is episode 16 of Voyagers.
We're almost done. I'm so sad.
Yeah, after this episode, we've only got 4 episodes to go. Plus, then I want to watch the Voyagers of the Unknown film, which basically they took 1 or 2 of the episodes and put them together.
Why?
Just because it's there and to talk about it.
Oh, but I mean, why would they do that?
I don't know. We'll figure it out when we get there. We'll get more into it. But yeah, so...
This one should have been like one of the first ones, so I could say that I have a bunch of really awesome ones next. Because this one was just mind-numbingly boring.
Well, before we get there, let's see what we're talking about.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. This episode is called Pursuit. It first aired March the 6th, 1983. So, Michelle, would you like to tell us what Pursuit was about?
Sure, though even the synopsis is short because it's that bad. So, for those who would like to know about this episode, we start off with Bogg, who brings Jeff to Cape Canaveral, Florida, to see the first moon landing. However, the space program of the United States doesn't even exist. German rocket technology that was supposed to be for the United States was given to the Soviet Union at the end of World War II instead. So this means that Bogg and Jeff have to go to Austria on May 1st, 1945 in order to ensure the rocket scientist Werner von Braun surrenders to American forces. Bogg tries to warn von Braun that one of his scientists is a mole or a spy for the Nazis before they finally meet Americans, and he gives them his rocket plans. Then they travel to July 20th, 1969 to see the Apollo 11th moon landing on television as Neil Armstrong utters his famous quote, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." And Jeffrey goes crazy over this. Which, as a big history nerd as he is, I could see him going crazy over it. So that was the only thing that I thought I liked that part. Because I was like, oh, Jeffrey got to see something really cool. Because he gets to see a lot of really cool things.
Right.
But you could tell he was really excited over it.
Yes. And that's it for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry.
No, I mean...
I liked this episode. It wasn't my favorite, but I enjoyed this episode.
Why?
Because it's about the moon landing and Nazis and...
It wasn't even about the moon landing.
Sure it was. That's how they got in this whole thing. They went to watch the first launch to the moon, and it ended with them on the moon. Not them on the moon, but Neil Armstrong landing on the moon. And if it wasn't for them going to watch the first shot to the moon, they wouldn't have had to go find von Braun, and the whole episode wouldn't have happened, which probably would have made you happy.
The episode could have not have happened, but I'm glad we went to space. But
no, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a decent episode.
I'm sorry.
It was all... The entire episode was dealing with one thing, even though they did jump in time, because it was all involved the moon landing and rockets and getting that going. This is the first time you've watched this, and probably going to be the only time you're going to watch it. Again, I haven't watched it since I first saw it back in, what did it say? 1983, when I was 13.
Okay.
Yeah, I was doing math.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was 13 when this came out. So again, that hit my sweet, young boy, the moon landing,
but it didn't
travel in time,
do
Nazis.
The moon landing. It wasn't like you even saw freaking NASA.
You saw the moon. You saw him getting off on the moon at the end there on television.
You saw him getting off on the moon?
Yeah.
You want to reword that?
No. I stand by what I said. When he said this is one small step for man, he was talking about something totally different. No, I'm just...
So we could take...
Yes.
How am I want to word this? We could take something and tag the end result at the end of it, and you're okay with it.
Well, the beginning and the end and the middle ties it all together. Because they didn't have the beginning.
And you can't say it was about the moon landing or anything like that. It was about... And it didn't even like... whatever.
Yeah, it was about the moon landing. Because again, that's why they got in this position. That's why they were there in the first place. Is because they went to watch the first rocket going to the moon with Neil Armstrong on it.
Go get in bed. Okay.
If they didn't do that, then they wouldn't have known that von Braun was captured by the Nazis and not given to the United States. And
they went to May 1st, 1945. That wasn't even... If they had gone into the 60s, or did I miss that?
The very beginning.
Yeah? Okay.
When they landed at the very beginning, they were talking to that guy.
That burger guy?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a burger guy. He was...
Yeah, he kept saying Rocket Burger or something.
Well, yeah. He was running the...
like historical...
Yeah, historical building there. Where it was supposed to be... it was supposed to be Cape Canaveral, but it wasn't because NASA didn't... No, I'm not going to say NASA didn't exist, but...
NASA didn't exist.
The space program didn't exist as it was. So there was no Cape Canaveral there. So yeah, so they landed in 1969 first. And they found out that Cape Canaveral didn't exist because, as I said, von Braun was captured by the Soviet Union instead of Americans.
Right.
So that's when they found out they had to go back to May 1st, 1945. And that's when they leapt to Austria.
I think I would have liked it more if it had to have been about how Neil Armstrong wasn't going to be an astronaut or something like that. That would have been more exciting for me, I guess, in that regard, or something along those lines. But this whole storyline I didn't care for. But that's me.
Well, did you catch when they were let me see, after Bogg found out that the blonde was actually a traitor, and they cut back to the Germans, and the one guy was on the radio and he was telling his boss that there was no one there. And he goes, more bad news that told him that Hitler died. Did you catch that part?
Yeah.
I was curious when Hitler actually died. He did die. He died April the 30th of 1945.
Oh.
So he died the day before that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was curious. Yeah, that was actually accurate. So I was wondering about that.
And which is funny is because I'm actually kind of a World War II.
Apparently not.
But the whole and I can't handle it, but the concentration camps and all that. I'm really, Aaron just gets frustrated with me because I will go on the internet when there's this is horrible, like a school shooting or a mass murder or something, and I will do my research and I will keep looking, and it will bother me. I will cry. I get upset. It makes me sick. I have a lot of empathy for people. But I'm really curious about things like that. For instance, right now, and it's really sad we've got a lot of rain in California. We've had some really major flooding. And unfortunately, there was this woman who was taking her child to school, and their car got swept up in water and hit a tree. And when she tried to get out, she was trying to get her son out, and he was 5 years old. And he got swept away and slipped from her hands. And I've been following that story because they still haven't found the little boy. And it just breaks my heart. And I can't even think about how she's feeling because it would just rip me apart. But I can't not stop following it. And sometimes I'll be reading stuff and tears are just falling down my face. And Aaron will look at me like, "What are you doing?" "Nothing." And he's like, "We're trying to go to bed. And you're on your phone looking at this horrible stuff." I'm like, I need to watch Disney now. So I'm really kind of interested in that stuff. I read a book called Night by Elie Wiesel when I was in college. And that really was just an amazing, amazing, sad book. he was a survivor of one of the concentration camps when he was a child. And he goes into pretty gory detail about the concentration camps. And, it's part of history. And I feel like you need to know these things so you don't repeat these things, But
those that do not remember history do repeat it, or something like that.
yes. And so, and I'm really about like the human nature and the psyche of humans and the psychology behind it. Though back when I was younger, I wanted to be a child psychologist, but there's no way in God's green earth I could do that job. It's amazing that I still want to be a teacher after everything I've heard. But yeah, so you think I would enjoy this more, but I didn't. I think it's because I have no interest in Werner von Braun and all that. And as soon as I saw the blonde chick, I thought it was either going to be her that was the traitor in my head, or the guy who looked like Radar from MASH with the glasses. Those are the two people I had pinpointed. I'm like, one of those two is the mole. So,
and you were right. It was the blonde.
It was the blonde.
Always the woman.
And there's a lot of blondes. I'm noticing in this show, and I'm telling you, as a kid, that would have been right up my alley. Because for some reason, I still do, but I gravitate towards the blonde characers.
Me too. Sorry.
Yeah, for different reasons. But
or
even our son, it has that trait. You never know. I don't know. But Kids Incorporated, Stacey Ferguson, who ended up being Fergie, but she's the one I liked. Sleeping Beauty is the one. I didn't even like Cinderella because she had short blonde hair. It had to be long blonde hair. So Rainbow Bright, long blonde hair. When I watched Jim, the blonde-haired girl in there. Even the Misfits, there was a blonde that wore green and whatever. That's the one I liked. So I've always just liked blonde characters.
Apparently so did James Patriot. The creator.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was the casting director. I don't know. But someone on Voyagers liked blondes.
Or maybe it was Hexum, who's like, I'll kiss blondes.
With his Norwegian smoothness.
Yes. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just weird. I don't know.
Talking to the mic, not the bottle.
Oh, sorry. I said it's just kind of strange, but it is what it is.
It's like, what was that? Oh, when we were playing D&D last night.
Yeah.
Aaron, Psycho, his girlfriend, or whatever she is.
Yeah.
Probably. Whenever she wanted to do something, she didn't want to tell Aaron. He's like, don't tell me, tell Steve. Tell the camera. But yeah, no, yeah, there is a lot of blondes in this show. Not that I'm complaining, but but yeah, I like to say, yeah, I didn't think it was the blonde at first. I didn't think you were wrong when you said it was a blonde, but I thought it was one of the guys. I thought maybe it was the Radar guy, possibly, because I wasn't quite sure. But and at least she was being a traitor, in quotes, but she was doing it for a good reason. She was trying to save her, because again, they had try that again. Like Bogg said, when the guy was questioning about it, what would you do if they had a member of your family, a brother or sister,
That's
and
true.
If you don't go along with us.
I would do anything for my kid. So
I mean, you can't really blame her. I mean, you could, but
we'll let her slide a little bit.
But yeah, like I said, I enjoyed the episode. Again, it wasn't great. Don't get me wrong.
No, it was not.
It was a standard episode, I guess. I mean, they kept the entire story, unlike last episode.
Yeah.
The two stories weren't connected, the two leaps. So that's something you complained about last time, is that the two stories, the two leaps, weren't really connected to one another, where this one, they both were connected.
I'm still complaining.
And you're still complaining.
Welcome to reality.
You'd complain if they hung you with a new rope. Yeah, I probably would. But, and I can kind of see where you're coming from. Yes, it would have been an interesting story if it had been about Neil Armstrong maybe giving up on being an astronaut, or
when
not
you
getting
said
that far.
Space and stuff, and like all of that. That's kind of where my mind had gone. So I think you set me up for failure.
No, you set yourself up for failure.
No, you set me up for failure.
You should know not to listen to me by now. Should I remind you of the Lee Harvey Oswald episode over on our Starbright project?
Oh, that's a great episode.
It was.
It sucked.
The Lee Harvey Oswald episode was great.
At least it was a pig farmer, but it was still...
Or actually episodes, because it was 2 episodes. But yeah, like I say, it was most of this episode took place in 1945 in Austria.
Yeah.
It was just the first few minutes in Cape Canaveral at the beginning when they found out that. That's another question I had, is they're leaping through time.
Right.
Trying to set right. Sorry, wrong show. They're leaping through time. Mm-hmm. How do they know it's Jeffrey's birthday?
Because Jeffrey knows his birthday.
Right, but they're right, and that's why they took theirs for Jeffrey's birthday. But how do they know it's Jeffrey's birthday?
Because Jeffrey told him it's Jeffrey's birthday.
Okay, let's take you for example.
Yeah.
Okay, some guy comes in and takes you off leaping through time.
Yeah.
This week you're in 1945. You're there for a day or two. Then you're in -1000 BC or whatever. It's not negative, it's 1000 BC. Then you're in 1562.
Yeah.
Then you're in 1970 and so forth and so on. When's your birthday?
My birthday is 11/22/77.
Okay, so your birthday is 11/22. Okay, but if you never make it to, say, 11/22/73 or 74,
you've got me so lost.
How do they know it's been a year? I guess that's a better question. You have a birthday or not even a year.
No,
because he didn't leave on his birthday.
His birthday was May 1st. So whatever May 1st is what they're saying his birthday is. So, like, for instance, your birthday is on Christmas Eve.
Right.
It's Christmas Eve. It's your birthday.
Right.
Whether it's 1945 or 1972.
Well, but they leapt into July 20th. I don't know if that's necessarily his birthday, but he took him there to see the moon landing as a birthday present.
Okay, so
that's a question I have for if you're a time traveler and you're always leaping through time.
I still don't get what you're trying to get at. If it's July 20th and that's his birthday, then they went.
But it doesn't matter if they did it today, tomorrow, in a week. If they're leaping on the same day that's Jeffrey's birthday,
I still don't understand your question. It makes no sense to me.
Okay, when's your next birthday?
November 22nd. This year, 2023.
Okay. But if you never reach that day, if you start time traveling...
They're just doing the day, Aaron. It's not the year. You're so stuck on the freaking year. You're stuck on the year. Because
they're traveling through years. They're traveling through time.
Right. But they're just saying that that's the day of his birthday. So if we went to Christmas Eve 1872 on Christmas Eve... I'm still going to wish you a happy birthday because it's Christmas Eve on December 23rd.
But they didn't just go there, oh, it's your birthday, happy birthday. He took him there to celebrate his birthday as a birthday present. That's why they went to July 20th.
Okay.
Of 1969.
So you're asking how are they keeping time?
Yeah, how do they know it's his birthday? How do they know it's been, I don't know when they didn't say when his birthday actually is.
My process on that is so tomorrow is going to be January 16th.
Correct.
If we're leaping through time.
Right.
And the next leap we do would be Thanksgiving for the Pilgrims, and it happens to be the 22nd. I'm still going to say it's my birthday.
Okay, but let's back up a second. They went there to sell it as a birthday present.
Right.
So that's like I say, okay, what's something you really like? You want to see in time?
This is so morbid. JFK's assassination.
You want to see JFK get murdered for your birthday. So I'm going to take...
And it's his actual day he got murdered, which is kind of funny. It would still...
Okay, pick something else, because I don't like that, because that ties in too close. That's your birthday.
I'm sorry, but that's...
What's the second thing you'd like to see, then?
As far as historical goes... Yeah. Give me a minute. Let me think.
Signing the Declaration.
No.
See Thomas Edison invent the light bulb.
The assassination of Abraham Lincoln.
Okay. So you want to see the assassination of Abraham Lincoln because you're morbid. So I'm gonna for a birthday present, I'm gonna take you to see the assassination of Abraham Lincoln.
Okay.
But how do I know it's your birthday? It's been a year since your last birthday if we're leaping through time.
Okay.
That's my question.
I mean, people give birthday presents whenever. If you haven't, well, this makes no sense. But for instance, it could be that they just know that it's that day, and so he's like, "Here, this will be your birthday present. On your birthday, we're gonna go see that." Or maybe his birthday did pass, but they just didn't mention it, and this was Bogg's gift to him.
But that's my whole thing.
Bogg hasn't given him a birthday present, and he realizes how excited Jeffrey is, and so he's like, "Hey, Jeffrey, this is your birthday present."
Oh, just the way they word. I mean, as a birthday present when they're leaping through time. So, how long have they been leaping through time? How many days has it passed for them? And that's a question that comes up a lot of time travel.
But I don't see how that resonates on giving him a birthday present. I think you're really hung up on something that doesn't need to be hung up on.
Well, probably not. That's where my mind works. I mean, it's a birthday present, and that's a good question for, if you're leaping through time and you never return to your home time period,
right?
How do you determine how old you are?
If you're leaping through time, do you really age?
Well, your body would still age. Your body would still age because
I see.
If you're living 3 days in this year, a week in this period, yes.
Hold your horses.
I'm holding my horses.
Because using quantum leap conversations we've had,
okay,
Sam goes into this freaking limbo where he doesn't have to pee, poop, eat, get his hair cut, do none of that. So his body is in limbo.
Right.
So how do we know that because of that limbo, and he heals?
Right.
So if he is healing, he could be like Wolverine, who...
But we're not talking about quantum leap right now. We're talking about Voyagers.
Bullshit. Don't even pull that with me. No, because you're calling it leaping. You're calling...
Well,
but I'm saying, though, that could be the time travel-y explanation for it.
So you're saying Jeffrey's always going to be a 12-year-old?
Possibly. His
we'll never find out.
Haven't gotten any... He hasn't changed clothes. His body hasn't changed, unquote, unquote.
That last episode, you commented that you've seen his body change.
I did, because I'm seeing it, but they're not addressing it. And it's not like he went, "Hey, I need to go buy bigger clothes because I'm growing," because they put him in the same outfit every time.
But again...
It's kind of like a Disney princess. They never age. They're in the same dress every time.
It's only been a year. Boys don't always grow that quickly in a year, especially at that age frame. They may not. But it's only been a year for him. I mean, the show only lasted just over a year.
But you're saying, how do we know how long they've been leaping?
Right.
So he could have been voyaging for 15 years, but his body has not changed. Or he could just be leaping for 10 minutes. We don't know.
And that's my question. How we don't know. So you agree?
I don't agree with you. I still don't see how his whole birthday thing is a mystery to you.
Because again, we need the time. I mean, he lives three days in this year, and they live a week in this time period. Unless they're keeping track of days or however long. At this point, he isn't until they return him back to 1980 until a permanent place where he lives. Yes, he would be aging in my thoughts, because unlike Sam, they're not spending a week in limbo. They're leaping and they're going directly to the next spot. So they're spending days.
No, they're traveling in the Phantom Zone.
Right, but it's not like Sam where we don't know how long they're in there. They're in there for a brief period of time between
How do you know
week.
that? How do you know they're not flying through the Phantom Zone for a couple of days before they get to the next leap?
If they're in a limbo type status, if there's no one on either end to comment on it, does it matter?
What?
In Quantum Leap, the only reason we know that Sam's leaps from one to the other isn't instantaneous is because Al's mentioned it. In the first episode, he said that when Sam leapt out of Tom Stratton into the ball player, he disappeared for a week. Sam, it was instant. Sam went from one to the other. He doesn't know of any time period in between. Al told him it's been a week for us. So if there's no one to say, well, it's been this long of a period, and you're in a limbo status and you're traveling through time, does it really matter how long you're in there?
No, and you don't age.
Well, you're in that limbo status, but when you're back in, so it doesn't really matter how long they're in there. They're still spending time in reality. In theory, again, we can't really use quantum leap because it's a bit different.
But my question to you is this: do you really age while you're time traveling, or do you not? Or do you only age when you go back to your original time frame, because a lot of times in time travel, when you time travel, depending on what you're doing, if you're not going into the future, usually you time travel, and when you come back, it's been only a moment.
In most time travel stories, though, they at least address it. If you're gone for any length of time, say I invent time travel and I travel wherever, and I spend the next 20 years leaping or traveling through time. I keep saying leaping. When I'm done traveling, I come back to this exact moment I left from, or moments later. So to you, I disappeared for a minute and I came right back.
Right.
But for me, since I'm living, I'm living 2 weeks in this year, a year in this year, 3 days in it.
Could have been
but I spent 20 years in my time. Yeah. For me, when I come back, I would be 63. I forgot what it was for a second. Or no, 73. I spent 20 years. So I would disappear as I am now as a 53-year-old man when I would come back as a 73-year-old man. And so next year, or in December, I would celebrate my 54th birthday, but I would look like a 74-year-old man. It's timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly stuff. Unless, of course, you've got, like, say, Doctor Who. The Doctor, he is an alien.
Generate.
So he can live, well, and then not only that, but he can live longer because he's an alien. So that's a different story. But most of the time, I mean, and most time travel, like TV shows or whatever, don't really get to that point because they don't go on long enough for any serious aging.
Right.
Because, for instance, Quantum Leap lasted 5 years. Sam Beckett, or
Scott Bakula,
my mind turned off. Scott Bakula was an adult. Right. And from, like a 30s, between 30 to 50 or so, a lot of time guys don't really show a lot of, or even women don't necessarily show a lot of aging.
Man, I wish that was the case for me.
They don't show a lot of aging. Once you get past your teens and until you start getting up into your, 60s, 70s, up in the upper ranges, you don't show a lot. Maybe some gray hair will start coming in.
A lot of gray hair.
But you don't see a lot of aging in that time period. So we only saw Quantum Leap for 5 years. So Scott Bakula didn't actually age or appear to age very much. Now, take this show, for instance, Voyagers. Again, Bogg, the actor actually, I want to say James, but that's not right.
John Hexum?
John, thank you. John.
Man, how am I doing good on names tonight? Where the hell is Hayden right now?
But John, if this show, say, lasted 5 years, 6 years, we probably wouldn't have seen much aging in John because he's a grown adult. And until he starts, getting gray hair, wrinkles and stuff, you're not going to see a lot of changes. But for Jeffrey, we would see that 5 years aging because we go from a 12-year-old boy to a 17-year-old teenager. So if the show would have continued, we would have seen that aging process on a real person. But again, just a thought. When they said it was for his birthday, I just got me wondering, well, how do they know it's his birthday to give him a birthday present? Unless it was just out of the blue. You know what? You've been with me for a while. Well, we'll say it's your birthday. I mean, that's the only thing, but
I just feel like they landed on his birthday day. Like they knew that the Apollo 11 moon landing happens on July 20th, 1969.
Right.
So maybe because of that, they know that Jeffrey was born on July 20th. So he's like, for your birthday, it's your birthday present because, well, today's your birthday. If I were to be traveling around, even though it wasn't your birthday, if we landed on the 24th, I would be like, here's your birthday present because it's that day.
Right. But see, those are two different things, though, compared to just landing them. Oh, it's your birthday. Happy birthday. I'm going to take you to see something that's possibly on your birthday. It just got me wondering again. And that's a question that comes up with time travel is if you're always time traveling and you're living in different periods for different periods of time, how do you know if you're aging? And especially prevalent, I say, for people who aren't, my age, John's age, Scott's age at the time, that time period, you don't really have a lot of changes to your body that you can notice you're aging. Unlike Jeffrey, and I keep calling him Jeffrey because I forget his real name, but you know what I'm saying.
Mino?
Yes, Mino. Yeah, Mino. Oh, Palooza. Okay, Mino is his first name. I'm saying Mino's last name for some reason.
No, Mino's his first name.
So,
dang, I'm like 3 for 3.
You're doing good tonight. I'm just going to call it a night and go back to bed. Yeah, because they never do mention when Mino's actually, I'm sorry, it wouldn't be Mino. They don't have to mention when it's Jeffrey's actual birthday, so.
It's July 20th. That's what I'm saying, and I'm sticking to it.
And that's fine. You can stick to it.
So let's get off this, because we've beat this like a dead horse.
That was one of my main thoughts. But anyways, since you don't want to talk about this episode, there's nothing you really want to. Did you like at the end when they were trying to get the Germans that were trying to escape free, and they made them think the Americans were attacking the whole in quotes battle?
That's okay. I mean, like I said, this episode hardly held my attention.
So I like that. I thought that was a good idea because, again, they didn't have the Americans to help them, so they made it look like, and they had the guy up in the building. Oh, I see the Americans are coming. Here come the tanks. And kind of just bluffing their way to get the Nazis to leave. I thought that was again, I've done things like that in my different role-playing games, so that's why it kind of caught my interest.
Good ploy.
But I did like that.
Well, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it, because to me, not so much.
Well, I mean, it wasn't great, but it was enjoyable. But you don't have much to say about it. Nope. I've already gone on about my rant about how can we know it's Jeffrey's birthday.
Yep.
So there's not much else to say about this episode, I guess.
Nope. So let's check the Omni and let's get the hell out of Dodge.
It's going to be a very short episode this time, but that's all right. Fine. Oh, green light.
Okay, so this time, are we actually going to go somewhere enjoyable? Like, I'm going to know about it?
I haven't seen this episode in 40 years. You like Hollywood?
No.
You like Franklin D. Roosevelt?
But are we going to talk? Is it literally going to be him? Because I thought we were going to go to the space. I thought we were headed to NASA. So you like...
We did.
No. What? We saw it on TV like they did?
Oh, they landed there at the end and they landed there at the beginning. It wasn't there. Like I said anyways.
Malarkey.
Franklin D. Roosevelt. Apparently he's a famous movie producer.
Oh, bat's breath.
If you want to learn more about the Wright brothers, Eddie Rickenbacker, and the early days of flying, take a voyage to your nearest public library. It's all in books.
Thank you for listening. This has been Voyagers Cast, a proud member of the Headcast Network family of shows. All copyrights belong to respective owners, and no copyright infringement is intended or implied. We're just a huge fan of time travel shows, and Voyagers in particular. Be sure to join us monthly as we watch where Phineas and Jeffrey land next. And if you enjoy this show, check out the other shows on the Headcast Network. The first week of the month, we have Head Speaks and the Starbright Project. Head Speaks is where I talk about comic books, TVs, movies, books, anything geeky. The Starbright Project is where Michelle and I look at another great time travel series, Quantum Leap, and then we'll talk about it. The second week of the month brings you G.I. Joe, a Real American Headcast, and this show, Voyagers Cast. Over on my G.I. Joe show, we look at the G.I. Joe comics and cartoons from the late 80s. The third week of the month, we drop both Task Force X and Retrospect to the 80s. Task Force X is a show that looks at the Suicide Squad and Checkmate books from the late 80s. Retrospect to the 80s, surprisingly enough, is a show where Michelle and I, and possibly some guests, look back at what we think is the greatest decade there was, the 80s. Finally, the fourth week of the month, I release the Starman Manhunter Adventure Hour and Bravo Team. Starman Manhunter is a show where I look at the Will Payton Starman and the Mark Shaw Manhunter books, both from the late 80s. Yes, I have a time period. Bravo Team is my sister show to the G.I. Joe team, or maybe brother show, where we look at anything else G.I. Joe related. We'll be back next month to join our friends Phineas and Jeffrey as they leap into, the unknown. Until then, remember, may your landings always be soft
and your lights always be green.